Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this episode of the Dan Dawson Show. Sorry, I'm looking at my producer, Zoe, who, as you can see, is again hard at work. Good thing she's union. Anyway, so September 11th is coming up, but on September 11th, I will be on the road. I'll be driving. I won't have time to put up a video, but I did want to comment on where I was on September 11th. September 11th actually started earlier for me. I was with the ex-wife station in Germany, right? And we woke up, well, she woke me up early one Saturday morning. And she goes, there's soldiers outside and they're armed. In Germany, you mostly live off the economy. They have military housing, but it's outside of base because I was in Vilsek. Vilsek is not a very big base, right? So you mostly live in military housing off of base. And ours was like 30, 45 minutes from base. So she wakes me up. I walk out on the balcony. We were on the third floor. I walk out on the balcony and I look and I'm like, what the hell's going on? So I go down and it's my unit. At the time I was a scout medic. So we were always the first in. I go down, I talk to one of the commanders, or one of the guys down there. And he goes, well, one of the staff sergeants was coming in for a weekend duty. Noticed a car smoking, called the German fire department. They come and take a look. Turns out it was a car bomb. So keep in mind, at this time, my daughter was an infant, young, and the car bomb, from where they said it was, would have killed us. And so I immediately go back upstairs, knowing what's going to happen, and start making sure, double checking my gear, making sure everything's there. And the wife is like, what are you doing? I was like, oh, we're going hunting. We're going hunting. I already know it. There's a car bomb. This is not going to set easy. But that was back when the United States actually had balls. And I was packing my gear, and she was on the phone with her sisters, and she comes out of the bedroom. She's like, well, what's going on? It's like, well, we're going to hunt Muslim extremists. Back then, it wasn't the Taliban. It was ISIS. And like, I already know what's going to happen. So she goes, well, nobody back home has heard about it. And I remember telling her, they won't hear about it. They won't care until we get hit on our own soil. So let's fast forward a couple of years. Now I'm in Washington State. Fresh out of the military. I was working night shift at some place that will remain unnamed. And I got up at 7 in the morning. Remember, the attacks, West Coast time started 10 a.m., 9 a.m. or so, 9, 10, right? Sleeping on the couch because she's doing stuff with our daughter and stuff. And I would just sleep on the couch and let her do what she had to do. And she wakes me up. She goes, look at this. And I roll over and look at the television. And there's planes flying into the World Trade Centers. And I woke up just in time to see the second one. And because I know what I know and I've done what I've done, it didn't even faze me. I just said, see, I told you. Rolled over, went right back to sleep. Then when I woke up later in the day, I watched the rest of it. And I was like, yeah, we're going back to war. She was like, yeah. I'm like, but the truth is, we never left war. So I reminded her, it's like, remember a couple of years ago, the car bomb that was set by the Muslim extremists? Call it what it is, right? It could have killed me, you, and our daughter. She was like, yeah. It's like, I told you, your family members, civilians don't understand what's actually going on in the world. Which disturbs me because when you get people like AOC, who Notice she has not come out. Now I might begin a personal attack on AOC. Not personal, but, political. Who won't come out and condemn what we're doing in Afghanistan right now. Because guess what? Guess what? We just supplied the terrorists. Guess what? We just reinvigorated them. You have to understand the mentality. See, here's the thing with places like Afghanistan, Iran, Iraq. They have a very masculine culture. America doesn't necessarily have that. There's a few. But we don't have it in spades. We don't have it in an abundance. And you need good men who are willing to kill bad men for this country to survive. Unfortunately, we've been taken over by the liberals who think a law that hasn't even gone into effect, talking about the Texas abortion law, is more detrimental than the Taliban, than ISIS. Now they have ISIS-K. I don't know how they came up with the K. It's really... You think they would go with a whole different name? It's like, so ISIS and ISIS-K are fighting, right? But you would think they would go with something cooler. Anyway, it's a branding problem, I think. But there are very masculine men who don't mind killing. And it reminds me of, what was the movie with Tom Cruise? It's a courtroom scene where the colonel is saying, you need men like me. Deep down, you want men like me on that wall. We have to have those men on that wall because and his face is right there. I can see his face, but I can't remember his name. God dang it, famous actor. But he's like, because deep down at parties you don't talk about, you need me on that wall. You want me on that wall. And then he says, I will not answer questions from a man who sleeps under the very freedom I provide, and then questions the manner in which I provide it. No, but according to Portland, the most important thing in the world is a law that's not even enacted in Texas yet, the Texas abortion law, and it's if you've been raped, if you're a victim of incest, or if the mother or child's life's in danger, there's no restrictions on the abortion. That's the most important thing. See, the most important thing to these motherfuckers is systemic racism. The systemic racism exists, yes, and it's from liberals. Look at Joe Biden. Look at Hillary Clinton. Liberals, Democrats, the worst two purveyors of racism in the political atmosphere in the last 40 years. Think about that. But no, I just want to tell you my story of where I was and what I thought about September 11th. It really was no big surprise. But I would like to say this, right, at the end of this. There's one thing I always watch every year, right? And it's one of my favorite stories. George Bush, remember, he was at the school in Florida when he found out. And he kept his calm. They got in the air, and Air Force One didn't have a security escort. They didn't have fighter planes escorting them. They couldn't pick up fighter planes. There was no one. So George Bush, who was a former member of the Texas National Guard, says, fly me through Texas. As soon as he gets to the Texas airspace, you know what happens? 2 fighters from the Texas National Guard show up, and I will never forget George Bush saying, I saw the Texas flag on the tail of those planes, and I knew we were safe. So, God bless Texas. Comment in the comments below. I want to know where you were on September 11th. Were you surprised by it? If you were, tell me why. Probably because the American news media doesn't really report real news. So, civilians back here honestly had no idea of what was going on in the rest of the world. We don't report real news. No, we report stuff like mostly peaceful riots, even though they're burning down government buildings. We report stuff like, oh, the Texas abortion law is so horrible. When actually, and honestly, it's not. I don't get it. We report stuff like kitten rescued out of a tree. but we don't report real news. It's almost like they think the world is too scary for us when there are some of us who have to deal with the consequences of living in the real world and not being informed. And that's what happened that day. That's what happened that day. I'll never forget former President Bill Clinton had a bead on Osama bin Laden. Could have taken him out. Didn't. And by the time he actually, it's one of the things I like about Obama. I know it's sacrilegious, but follow me on this. Obama, when he had a chance, said, hey, you're done. And he did that a lot. Oh, okay, I'll give this to Obama, right? He killed a lot of terrorists, and he was not shy about it, did not mince words about it, did not care what you said. Trump, when he came into office, remember he got all the slack for assassinating the one leader of the Taliban. I forget his name. Trump's like, I don't care. Yeah, that's what we do. And you know what? If I find another one, whoever they promote to his position, I'm going to kill them too. That's what you do as commander-in-chief. Because you can't really think about it as assassination. You're keeping your troops safe. But tell me where you were on 9/11. Comment in the comments below and tell me, were you surprised? Were you not surprised? Looking back now 20 years after, if another 9/11 happened, would you be surprised? Go ahead, comment, like, subscribe, share. Check out DMB Presents the Underground News. I think we're putting up an episode either tomorrow or Thursday. I drive out Friday. So our next episode on DB Presents the Underground News will be the week after. But go ahead and like, subscribe, share. And as always, do what you got to do.